Hello, true duelists. My name's Craig Fee, and welcome to the New Card Report. Today we're taking the title of this video quite literally, as it is the New Card Report, and that is singular. That's because I meant to get this video out like 3 days ago, but I had to pick up extra shifts at work, and then I got home from work and kept passing out because the only thing that really went up in terms of the pandemic is the cost of everything forever, as it turns out. But also, the number of hand traps, as it turns out, and this newest card revealed from the Infinite Forbidden is by far one of the most interesting ones we've seen in quite some time, because it's not quite Max C, it's Mini C. But you've heard that already, so I gotta have to come up with a new joke, aren't I? Sure hope I can do that by the time this video ends. So let's take a look at this thing, hyped up as the successor to Maximum C. Molchummy Perulia is a level 4 water aqua monster with 100 attack and 600 defense, and you can only use the effect of other Molchummy monsters once during the turn you activate this card's effect. Because if you control no cards, you can quick effect discard this card, and for the rest of the turn, each time your opponent normal or special summons from the hand this turn, you can immediately draw a card. And during the end phase, if you have more cards in your hand than the total number of cards your opponent controls, plus 6, you will have to shuffle random cards from your hand into the deck to the size difference. Now, would you look at that? It's a Max C of sorts, but designed with some amount of balance in mind. Now, whether you decide for yourself that that's too much balance or not enough, I've heard just about every single take in regards to this card, because it's a card that involves drawing things, so that means Yu-Gi-Oh players will be talking about it. Shoutouts to my Neg 9 enthusiasts. Really, the only thing I can tell you with any amount of certainty here is that this card is adorable. That's it. I can't tell you whether or not it's good or bad decisively. I can only give my opinion, but that's a fucking fact. That shit is so goddamn cute. Now, the first thing I think most people will be wondering in some capacity is, what the hell is a Molchummy? Because if it looks like this thing, I'm going to need every single one of them. Now, obviously, we don't know for certain yet. It could simply be that you're not allowed to stack too many of this exact card's effects on one turn, but it's also possible, in my copium huffing ass addicted state, that they're maybe designing a new sort of hand trap in mind, wherein you can't really use every single hand trap you draw, but you have to pick, which two you want the most. The Max C from the hand, the Ash Blossom, and the Nibiru can't all be used. You have to pick 2 of the 3. I think it would certainly be an interesting take on hand traps and a way to try and, rebalance the game a little bit so it's a little less buck wild as the game is now. But that is, as I've said, incredible copium, because in order for that to even be remotely valid, you need to ban like every single fucking hand trap. And also, it's going to need bans of a lot more than just Barone and Borreload Savage, and like a restructuring of the game in its entirety. But I think it's interesting to think about, maybe even if only in an alternative format of sorts. Who knows for certain? But let's look at this thing in the here and now, and the more certain, because Max C from the hand only is definitely a solid effect. For one, it's a Max C that heavily punishes Fluwandereeze, which is a morally great card, because punishing birds is in fact the greatest thing you could do. It's the greatest good that is possible. Birds are fucking evil. I don't have anything else to say here. But even beyond that, we have received 2 Poplars in like the course of a week for both Tenpai and Galaxy, and there are plenty of decks that do summons from the hand quite frequently. Fiend Link is one I've seen mentioned that will be pretty heavily punished by this card, from the double normal summons to Sharvara to the new Grave Squirmer and plenty of other things. And even broadly, Terratop to search Takatom board will get you 2 draws from this, making it a +1. And honestly, I think Danger decks could take the Max C challenge of sorts against this thing by just spamming the board in the right setting. Still, this card is really only good if you're going second, because if you go first, this is beyond dead, since you have to control no cards. And after turn 2, it's safe to assume that this card will be dead in 99% of scenarios, which means it isn't nearly as abusable as Max C is, because if you build your board, this just gets to look cute and hang out in your hand, I guess. If you're going first, this should not be in your deck. But if you're going second, this card can be phenomenal. You can draw any number of cards, provided the hand summons are abundant, and you can use other hand traps that you draw from it, which will help you to keep your hand size down to avoid the potential end phase shuffle away effect, and of course, more importantly, interrupt the opponent and stop them from building their first turn board that you can't beat. That's pretty good too. You may also note that this card has no once per turn anywhere on it, so you can hypothetically chain 2 of them, and then, you know, draw 2 off each summon from your opponent's hand, but not 3 because you can only use 1 other Molt Chummy effect. Ooh, that's crazy. Either way, 2 draws for each Flu could absolutely destroy their turn, or maybe you can use 1 on their turn when they're going first, and then on your turn you could do it again because Flu will try and summon on your turn regardless, and then when they get their 16 draws, you get your 16 draws, or when they get their 16 summons, you get your 16 draws, I should say. What is reading? Haha, get it? Yu-Gi-Oh players can't do that, and I cannot read this fucking script. Either way, again, punishing Flu, very fucking good. There's also something cosmically funny to me about dropping this when you go first, just as like the whole worst Nibiru insurance in the game. Like, again, you shouldn't have it when you're going first, but if, you know, it's in your deck, you didn't side it out because you're the big dumb or something, and you're like, well, fuck it, I'm not doing anything else with it. You just pitch it, and then when they nib your board, you're like, haha, fuck you, buddy, I'm still getting 1 draw and a token. And then there's, of course, the other balance mechanism, and that is the shuffle back if you draw too many. This effect is very conditional in the sense that if the opponent doesn't make a big enough board, you could lose your hand in some amount. But I do feel they missed the mark on this part a bit because their board plus 6 means like at least 7 cards, assuming they only like set a single. Like if they normal summon 1 card and stop, their board plus 6 is 7 cards. So like you're probably going to be safe. Granted, if they just like set the card, you won't be drawing off it, but I think you get what I mean. If they're going first and making a board, 3 cards is like the minimum that I've seen from any deck, like say Unchained, which means that you can start with 9 cards before you draw for turn, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe only 8, but either way, that's plenty. I don't even know why this effect is really on here beyond if it actually max seed into 20 cards, but it's only from the hand, so what decks even would? I can't say. It's all in all a pretty fucking interesting card, isn't it? It's very, very interesting card design from Konami, and in talking about it in both future design and the impact on the game now. It feels to me like it's going to have much more of a killer matchup type of play than an in all decks always. Maybe in all side decks always, but I don't know. I've been wrong before. I'm thinking like, you know, what does this even do against Pearly at all? It's an upstart effectively. And that's it. Or maybe like against Phantom Knights, maybe you'll get the 1 normal summon and the boots effect, but you know, against a Horus engine, this is almost useless. There are plenty of decks where there's not an abundance of summons from the hand anyways, so it's not like it's a guaranteed absolute staple in every deck for every matchup like Max C broadly is, but hey, as I said, there's Fiend Link and Flu, so there's definitely decks where this will crush in some capacity. Match dependent to varying degrees, and a side deck card for a lot of decks, because I don't see this shifting the decision about whether or not you go first or second in this game, but I do think it will very much help you if you're going second and you draw it. I definitely think this is a good card, but for all the hype and clickbait, it's definitely not Max C. It's just the closest thing we have, which if you're close to Max C, you gotta be at least decent, right? I'd love to know your thoughts on this card. It very much can be used and abused in the future, so if there's some things I forgot to mention or didn't think to mention, absolutely inform me. Not to mention, you know, water deck players can be really annoying by saying that, oh, well, even in the worst case, we could normal summon it and use it for Bahamut Shark. It's like, you know, shut up, Mermail players. Shut the fuck up, okay? All 3 of you. I'm the 3rd one. And so that wraps it up for this new card report, just covering some of the new cards in this one. And by cards, I of course mean card, singular. Just covering Mini-Me Max C, just covering Pocket C, just covering the fucking squid guy, Squidward. That's it. So thanks as always, go to the LIFD magnetic display, the best way to show off your cards and the true duelist approved way to show off your cards. Yep, show off your cards and of course support the channel. That's what I'm getting to. Whether you use the 3 set or the 1 guy, give her the code for this guy, promo code YJustJets15, type it in at the discount, click the link in the description, however you want to go about it. I love this thing. I hope you will too. And I hope you'll buy it because I financially am rewarded for that. So that's also cool too. That's it. Goodbye. My name Fee-Man, me Fee. And I will see you next week, this week, in the update. Yeah, I'll see you in the update. And other than that, please hit subscribe. Impress your smoking Italian wife. It happens immediately. Just ask Douglas Zeef. And of course, immediately become a true duelist. One more need be said.